Okay, Street Talk time for the 29th of June to the 3rd of July, aka today. And this was a lot better week than last week, I have to say, finally. It's a bit of a turnaround. Did you not agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice dollop of tragedy this week. Pick things right back up again for me.
This was really harrowing.
Harrowing, yeah, harrowing, so harrowing. Anything else?
Distressing.
You know it's a good week when the announcer says beforehand there are going to be some scenes that viewers find upsetting. We always go, ooh,
good.
rub our hands with glee. But no, it was a great week this week. There was kind of only one story that dominated like 90% of this week's Corrie, which is obviously the serious, couldn't be any more serious case of the Ollie Wobbles story. I've put the Emma stuff from the Sebelina Budding back in sort of afterwards because it's a bit about Seb, but it was really more about Emma's reaction to hearing the news about Ollie, but I'd already separated them off at the beginning of the week and I wasn't going to change those notes. Then we had a bit of light relief with the Fizz and Tyrone story, with the Evelyn stuff, which I thought was hilarious. Those scenes in the cafe with Arthur and Roy. And Jenny is back.
Yeah.
But Johnny's still got issues.
Where's Johnny? Yeah.
Still in France.
At least Johnny's back, though.
Yes, that is
Hooray!
good to know. So I'll take the...
I thought they did a good job this week of mixing the really tough, serious stuff with some more light-hearted, whimsical, character-y stuff.
There absolutely was. I still think that, and I can maybe talk about it more when we get there, that the Emma story they could have pushed that a little bit more, but yeah, they had to balance that out, didn't they? And sometimes when Corrie tries to balance out tragedy with comedy, it comes across as a bit, fake and forced, but I didn't think it did this week.
No, they did a
I
really
really
good job.
enjoyed both the A story and there were C stories, really. I don't think there were any B stories this week, to be fair. So, if you remember, last Friday's episode ended with Leanne and Steve being invited into Dr. Ward's office. It seems she has bad news, and unsurprisingly, it's about as bad as it can be. Ollie's diagnosis has come through. He's got the I forgot even what it's called. Mitochondrial disease, and it's the bad type. It's life limiting. We've wondered for a while whether it was going to come. Well, in fact, we've not wondered, have we? We've known, and not in it's a spoilery way. We've known, but you only have to do a little bit of research online.
If you've got it when you're young, it's not really great news. I also thought it was a bit weird. It seemed like they were couching it in slightly obscure terms when they were calling it life limiting. I don't know when this word has entered the parlance of medical doctors to describe
it's
something.
all about the bedside manner.
So if you were to say have a terminal cancer, would they say that was life limiting?
A life limiting cancer.
It just seems a bit, I don't know, a bit twee, and like just say what you mean.
Some people don't like to be told
No, I know.
straight, do they?
I know. It's
I mean, you saw Leanne's reaction from being told the watered down version, I suppose.
It's not my place to tell anyone how to disseminate this information, but I would have found it a bit confusing myself, because if somebody said something's life limiting, I would have thought, well, that means that you can't. I don't know, like you can't do this or you can't do that.
Well,
not that you're going to die.
To be fair, Leanne has been in denial, complete denial about this anyway. So maybe they should have told it to her straight, because she
knows.
She knows, but she didn't want to hear it, did she?
I also thought that the way that they explained it, I guess this is how they get explained. I guess this was like, we all know that when you go to the doctor will gauge your level of education and intelligence and try to work out a way of telling you something in a way that you'll understand.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it backfired on me somewhat when my doctor tried to explain all the different bones in my body when he was trying to tell me I had shoulder impingement syndrome, and he was going into great detail into anatomy, and I had no idea what he was talking about. But I was going, yes, very interesting. Thank you, doctor. But they kind of, it felt to me like they were trying to tell everyone at home in the very most simplistic terms what mitochondrial disease was. But I thought that, I thought that Nick and Leanne would probably have was
it It was Steve.
Steve and Leanne probably would have understood a bit more complicated. Because
Because
he basically said it's a spelling mistake in the DNA and that mitochondria aren't converting food into energy, which really doesn't actually make sense if you know anything about biology, because the cells aren't getting food.
So you would rather Dr. Ward would have just said, he gonna die.
Shut up. The thing is that Leanne was like going, he's getting food. What's wrong with his food? I don't understand. But I don't know if she was being deliberately latching onto something and trying to pretend that she didn't understand it, because in that way she could deny that it was real.
I
don't know. I just thought it was very interesting the way that the doctor explained this.
Yeah. Well, she clops off, doesn't she? She doesn't want to hear it. She's like, I demand a second opinion.
Yeah. It's also really interesting to think about how a doctor must try to work out how to explain some of these things to people. Because it must be very difficult.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's what they get paid for.
They do, don't they?
Meanwhile...
Yeah, she goes off and she's basically saying, I don't believe you.
Yeah, meanwhile, Imran and Toyah are with this fostering lady, and she's telling them that they're very strong candidates for fostering. They don't realise at this point just how bad Ollie's condition is, because the last thing that they'd heard is that he saw a cow, knew what it was, and basically that means that he's going to be, joining Mensa next week. That it's not down to her to decide, this woman. They're going to be a panel. They need to get references, so Toyah thinks she's going to get Leanne to give her a reference, and maybe she's going to be up to doing that soon because of Ollie getting better. In any case, the suggested date for the panel is Friday the 10th of July, which obviously would normally be next week, but this was supposed to take place mid-May, so there's still a long time to go in Weatherfield terms.
There was a bit of criticism on Twitter from a couple of people who are involved in fostering, saying that Coronation Street was giving a false impression of how quickly fostering takes place. But I had always thought, watching this, that this was another thing that had taken place without us seeing, and Imran and Toyah had been discussing fostering for a long time.
I think we just
and
have
gone through a lengthy process to get to this stage.
But it was really boring, so they didn't bother put it on. We wanted to see more Gemma and the quads, didn't we?
Oh yeah, I love them.
They've shown it before with other characters, haven't they? Because they're not the first to foster on Coronation Street. But
it's always a bit surprising when a character is up to something off screen and
it doesn't feel quite right. Usually, if a character's not on screen, they're literally might as well have gone into stasis.
Yeah, they're in a cupboard waiting to be switched back on again.
They could have spelled it out more, I think, but I mean,
no, I thought it was fine.
Okay,
I was totally like, yeah, okay, they've been thinking about this behind the scenes. We've only just been told that this is what they're doing.
I mean, they seem very, very invested in it, particularly Imran.
We still have these conversations about Imran and why didn't he have children with his first wife, and what's his deal with kids. I never really, honestly, I pegged Imran as I don't like children and I don't want to have any
I don't
children.
have time for that kind of thing.
No, he seemed like a very kind of straight-laced, professional, serious type of person who loved his family when they were around, but doesn't particularly dwell on, he's got no family left now, really. And he doesn't really ever talk about them, apart from when he was talking about them this week. But we don't get a chance to see a lot of these things, so that explains that. I just thought, if there was ever going to be a Toyah and Imran child story, it would have been Toyah trying to convince Imran to do something or the other. So the fact that he's totally on board is... Well,
Toyah seems to we know that she desperately wants a child, but she's had to be the one through all of this that's had to take a step back. Even though she's wanted a child longer than Imran has. We guess. Again, we don't know how...
This is what I'm trying to say. It's really nice that Toyah has finally got a partner who is as invested in fact, even perhaps more so, in this child acquiring than she is. Because
I can't remember how much... I'm going to say Greg, but it might be Toby. Or Chris. I can't remember how much he wanted kids originally, whether he was just ground down by Toyah's obsession with IVF.
No. Whenever Toyah's been with a partner, they have sort of been into getting a child, but also understanding that the toll it was taking on Toyah to continuously try IVF and it never to work. So for her mental health, I think they were right to say we have to stop because it's not working, and it's just you could spend all the money in the world, couldn't you? If you just can't have children, you just can't have children. And there are certain, obviously there's a spectrum, isn't it?
Yeah.
And some people eventually do, and that's kind of the worst.
Miracles happen.
Well, that's kind of the worst thing, isn't it, for people who just can't have them, to know that there's that possibility, but it's not like a chance that everyone can have.
Yeah, it makes you wonder whether Toyah would have considered fostering before this point. Did she suggest it to Greg?
I also
Peter
don't know
and...
much about fostering and adoption, and do you have to? Is it like you have to foster a couple and then they'll let you keep one, or can you just say I want to adopt?
What Rita?
But why? I don't know why. It seems a bit. I don't understand it because I've never looked into it. But what's the impetus for fostering over adoption?
Try before you buy. Yeah.
I don't
it's
know.
Just there are children. I think it's.
Maybe it's because there are children
out there
who
desperate, who need to be fostered or just need temporary care, and you think you can have an immediate impact on a child's life, and it's not such a big step. And I guess with fostering, some people who are foster parents can affect the lives of a whole load of children, whereas if you're adopting, then often it might just be one.
I guess I'm not talking really so much in real life, but in Coronation Street. And I guess the payoff for writers is they can go, well, this didn't work, we'll just get rid of the kid and say that they've been taken back by their parents, because if you adopt a child in Coronation Street and it doesn't work out, your characters get trashed if they give the child back. You can't do that.
On the whole, though, I would say that Coronation Street has had quite a successful run of fostering storylines over the year, because obviously Jenny, number one foster child, fantastic character. I really love Sharon Gaskell as well. Wayne Hayes was a foster kid for Roy and Hayley. Lovely boy, and great to have him return last year. Fizz, foster kid for Roy and Hayley. She's gone on to big things now.
It's a bigger part of Coronation Street than I've ever encountered in my life. I don't know anyone who's fostered. I know my cousins were fostered by my mum.
I don't know anyone. Actually, my mum fostered for cousins.
Yeah, but that was different.
Yeah, there was that story can't remember. It must have been the 70s when Emily and Ernest fostered those two kids for one Christmas as well.
Maybe it's more of a part of people's lives than I thought. Because I'm like, I don't know. It's like, well, yeah, you lived through it when you were a kid.
Well, I guess there's more to come with this, but not yet. They've agreed they've had to put the brakes on it. They tell Craig and Ryan and Alia and say, you didn't tell anyone, did you? And Craig's like, oh. No, Craig hadn't told his mum, had he? Because Craig was talking about moving back in with Beth, but I don't think he said that it was because there's this possibly a kid on the way. He doesn't want anyone stealing his Xbox off him or whatever. So anyway...
No, this is the point where they're telling everyone.
Yeah, Ryan and I...
No.
Oh, yeah,
Imran,
of course.
This is the bit where Imran's excited... Toyah's like, well, I'm going to tell Leanne about this tonight. And they're basically, at the beginning of the week, they're like, brilliant.
And you
this
get your
thing
DBS
that we've
check.
been secretly doing behind everyone's backs, who likes Coronation Street. We've been sneaking around, getting a kid. And it's all great. And then... That's
right. Then this is when Dr. Second Opinion comes up and says to Leanne and Steve, it's true, he really has got it. She kind of... again, tells it to them fairly straight and says, look, Ollie's going to have some good days, he's going to have some bad days, but you need to be prepared for this. Yeah, we don't know how long the seizures are going to get worse. Some of them are going to be prolonged. You haven't seen the worst of this any means. And then also it talks about the fact that he might have a better understanding. Would it be better to tell him a little bit about it, which is a really awful thing to have to do.
I know,
to tell
I didn't
a kid
really
who's
think
already...
about it.
He's very young anyway to understand these things, but he's also regressed mentally a lot.
I don't. Yeah.
I don't know how.
I can't. I never
how
really
on earth could you
considered
do that?
that aspect of having to sit down with Ollie and say,
No.
Ollie, you aren't gonna grow up.
No.
What a horrible thing
what would
to
you
tell
do?
a child.
Because it's either that or just, try and give him a happy life, act like everything's okay,
Never tell
but
him.
watch him
That
slipping
doesn't
away
seem
from you.
morally correct, does it? But how could you tell a child? But I don't know enough about how old. What does he know about?
I don't know about 3-year-olds. I've got no idea, but he's not got the mind of a 3-year-old, has he? It's really
This
really
was
tough.
one of the worst parts.
Yeah,
to watch, of just them realizing that this would be something they had to do. But she was very sure that this would actually help him to understand that there was something wrong with him. And Leanne still can't believe it, can she? She's still saying,
she's still saying,
"Oh no,
he's
this
getting
isn't
better."
True.
Yeah, but she knows, and you can tell she knows, because when she comes home, she's in a right mardy mare, isn't she? She snaps at Simon, who's there cooking the tea. He says, "You're back early, I haven't finished," and she has a go at him. Simon reacts stroppily to that. Nick says that we've had some bad news, Simon. Meanwhile, Tracy is there out in the street, I think, wasn't she, with Steve, saying that you go and see Oliver as much as you want. I think Tracy seems to have taken a detour and entered the personality transplant wing of Weatherfield General.
Yeah.
We've been saying
She's
it
like,
for a while.
while you guys
but
are with Oliver, I'm just going to go and become a nice person. They're going to take my brain out.
It's Samir's kidney. It's
kicking in.
It's kicking in. It's yeah.
It's a good run in that kidney, isn't it?
Tracy says that she's going to speak to Amy. Did we?
No.
We did see a bit of Amy this week because we saw her when she was passing by Simon in the street. Yeah, we didn't see the news being broken to her.
Lots of people find out without us having to watch them react to.
Yeah,
learning.
Which I think we saw enough people learning about it. I mean, Jane Danson, stellar performance this week. I don't think anybody could have topped that in terms of reactions. So.
That's the thing. Sometimes they can overdo it with the reaction scenes.
But sometimes it works nicely, like with Aiden's suicide. The second episode there, where everybody found out, was really, really well done. But yeah, I don't think I needed.
You don't need to see everybody reacting.
No, they're all going to react pretty similar to this. I suppose with the Aiden suicide, they wanted to show that different people react to it in different ways. But there ain't going to be anybody who hears this news about Ollie and somebody says, "Oh, he's so selfish." Or,
it's his fault.
Yeah. Oh, it's all about me. So Toyah's there as well. Steve tells her what's gone on. She's already heard a little bit of it, but Steve says that at the end of the day, Ollie is going to have a very short life. And just those words there.
That was horrible.
It's like, it's a Tiny Tim sort of tragedy, this, isn't it?
Tiny Tim lived.
I know. So Toyah goes over to see Leanne and gets her head bitten off by Leanne, who's...
Toyah goes to see, yeah.
Yeah, she kind of takes over cooking the tea, doesn't she? Because she wants to do something to help, but she's only heard this news now and she doesn't know what to do. So Simon's gone off on a strop. So Toyah starts stirring the pan, and then Leanne snaps at her, says, "Food's useless, Toyah, everything's useless." So she starts to have a massive go at her, and then it's really quite, personal with some of the things that she says. Like,
she was really.
It's basically
horrible.
You've never had a kid, Toyah. You don't know what I'm going through. You never miss what you never had. Toyah realises that
Toyah is so good and so lovely.
She's very restrained.
Because she's a counsellor, I guess. She's seen people reacting to bad news in a similar manner, and she knows that Leanne does not mean it. And she's just lashing out, and so she just says
they've got a very, very close bond, those two, haven't they?
Basically, she goes, "I'm just going to leave because
they have
I don't
fallen out
this.
In the past."
She just says, "I'm going to go because I don't want to make this any worse than it is already."
Yeah.
Oh my god, she must be so. We never really see Toyah reacting, like she doesn't sort of.
We don't see the moment that it dawns on her that I've got to stop this fostering now.
No, I know, but she doesn't go, "Oh, now the story's about me and how sad I am about Leanne being horrible to me," does she? She just goes, "Wow, Leanne is so messed up about this. This is the worst thing. She's not handling this very well at all."
Yeah, Leanne's also stressed out at this point because Steve's in with Ollie and she wants him all to herself for whatever time they've got left together.
She doesn't know, does she?
Nick's there, still on the sidelines, sort of being really going through the ringer this week.
The scenes at the end of this week with him.
I know, he was great, wasn't he? So this is when Toyah and Imran go back to the flat and tell the other three
No, well, first of all,
Ex-nay on the
Imran...
adoption,
No,
Faye.
first of all, Imran
No.
says...
No. Yeah, that's right.
First of all, Imran says, look, we've got to decide what to do
Faye.
about this. And we've got to be sensitive. And Toya's like, no, we're not doing it at all.
Yeah. Imran still kind of thinks, we can maybe squeeze in, a little foster child
Well, the
through
thing
the
is...
side door.
Oh, it's so difficult because life goes on, doesn't it? And there is a child somewhere who wants to be taken into a home and looked after.
And fed vegan lasagna every day for the rest of its happy little life.
But what would it do to Leanne? Would it? The thing is, I guess that Toyah might have thought that perhaps she could get away with it, in a sense, if Leanne had a handle on it at all. But Leanne does not.
Yeah.
Leanne is attacking Toyah for no reason. So I can't imagine what she would be like if Toyah was like, guess what?
Yeah, I agree. I've seen some people reacting and saying, well, look, it's not going to change anything. Toyah and Imran having this foster kid. Maybe Leanne would be happy for them to see that she's going through this tragedy. I don't think she's reacting to this. And there's no good way to react to this, getting this news, but she's not in the right frame of mind, you can tell.
At the moment she isn't. She might change her mind, I don't know, but right now this is not what she wants to hear. I think Toya's being very hasty though in saying we should just not do it now. When's going to be the right time?
Yeah, that's true. That's very, very true.
Because they don't know how long Oliver's got left. That's the sad thing. He could die,
He could die this year, or he could die in, 10 years' time.
We don't know. I mean, knowing Coronation Street's going to die at Christmas.
Oh, God, I can't. Don't make him die in December this year. For the 60th.
Oh,
don't
dear.
need that. Yeah.
Anyway, so she says, let's not do it.
Deck the halls with Bells of Ollie.
Oh, God.
Storyline title.
Write that down. Then we see Leanne on the sofa.
Yes, she's watching the video of the farm, and she remembers wishing the baby was Nick's and not Steve. She's talking to Nick, isn't she? She said, "Yeah, when I was pregnant, I wished that the baby was yours and not his." And then Steve came along, and I thought, well, maybe this is what the cards that life has dealt me, and this is the only way that I can get pregnant with Steve's super sperm. This is my only chance at having a baby, because has she turned 40 yet, Leanne? I think maybe, or getting close to there. So she knows that her biological clock is seriously ticking at this point.
You men can say that so casually.
She's had an abortion in the past, hasn't she?
Let's not
to compound issues.
That has nothing to do. What do you mean?
Well, I'm saying that I thought that if you've had an abortion,
no.
Oh, I'm not going to go there because I don't know. So she has a good old cry at the end of the episode, and that's the end of that. Don't say that,
because that makes it seem like if you have fertility issues and you have ever had an abortion, it's your own fault. That is not true.
No,
it has no effect on it. Depends on what kind of abortion you have, and you should not ever put that on women.
Okay.
That's just because you didn't know, but now
I didn't know. No, I know. Wednesday, we get one of Corrie's rare middle of the night scenes. I love it. Whenever Corrie starts with a nighttime scene, I don't know why.
Do you like it?
I do. It's like, this is a bit different.
It's nighttime.
It's Nick and Leanne's bedroom, isn't they? Which I don't think we see very much of, apart from the the reports finding scene.
Oh yeah, not the sexy time scene, just the finding a report.
Yeah, that's the sexiest thing that's happened in that bedroom. So it's 5 a.m. Nick wakes up, realises that Leanne's still up, and so he goes and finds her in the lounge, and she's there telling Ollie all about how serious his serious case of the Ollie Wobbles is. I can't remember what word she uses, but it seems to it's a very gently, and you can't tell whether he understands, but she almost tells him for her sake rather than his, I think, because sometimes when bad things happen, you want to tell somebody, don't you, just to get it off your chest. Yeah, and if you say it out loud, I think this is probably her, who has been in denial quite a lot up to this point. I've said it now. This is really real. She says, "I didn't want him. I just didn't want to be scared."
No, I just do want.
I didn't want him to be scared. Sorry.
That was so sweet when she's. Oh, it was really heartbreaking because she thinks that this will be of comfort to him, and the fact that knowing you have a terminal illness is of comfort to you is just a horrific thought. But the fact of the matter is that if he knows there's something wrong with him, and it's, I don't know, I guess it will help, because it's not like when you know something,
well, with some
the
people,
unknown is worse, isn't it?
Yeah, when some people find out they got a terminal disease, then they can get their affairs in order or whatever, and you can come to terms with your own mortality.
Your books.
But Ollie doesn't understand, and even if he did, it wouldn't, it'd blow his mind.
You don't know.
I think. But anyway, Nick is again shunned because he offers to stay up with him, and Leanne's like, no, it's fine. I want to stay with him.
She just wants to sleep on the sofa with Ollie.
Nick goes and kind of slinks back to bed, feeling ousted even more.
There's nothing that anyone can do or say for Leanne now. This is everyone's worst nightmare.
So Imran has lured Toyah to the cafe on Wednesday morning so that he can speak to her about this fostering thing in public, because he's still not ready to put the idea to bed quite yet, and I think he thinks that if it's in a public place that this is discussed, it can't get heated. And
is that what you think, or
yeah,
is that apparent in the show? That seems like a strange assumption.
No, I think they said something along those lines. I don't remember exactly. He plays the Rana card, like, I've lost my sister, and I need a family. I was her big brother, and it is. I mean, he lost his sister and his dad. Not that his dad was any use in ornament, in quite quick succession. His mum's again,
estranged.
Yeah, basically. So he's alone. He's alone, family wise, and Toyah has filled a hole. But he wants somebody to look after, and he's like, look, just please speak to Leanne. You never know. Play it by ear, he says. If it looks like she's not really up for it, and she eventually agrees to give it a try at least, and maybe float the idea. Meanwhile, Simon is down. I think that Alex Bain has done a pretty decent job this week.
What do you mean by Simon is down?
He's miffed. He's upset. Okay. He's a bit narked. I
didn't know if you meant he was down from somewhere. I was like, where has he been?
He's on borrowed time.
You went to Scotland with Beth?
So he says he's got this exam. He's got his RE exam today.
This is the worst thing. Like, how could you concentrate?
Yeah, you can't, can you, when these things happen? And concessions can be made, but I think he doesn't want the school to find out about it.
Well, it's like when I was at university, my granddad died, and I had the same week I had to have a essay done or something, and so I told my professor, and they were like, yeah, don't worry about it, just give it to me next week. And I was like, I'll just do it now. What, I'm not going to be less sad that my granddad's died next week than I am now.
Yeah. So anyway, Steve is coming around, and he desperately wants to also get in on there. It's his kid after all, but Leanne can't cut with him hanging around all the time. He is a bit narked when he finds out that Leanne's told Ollie about his condition. It's just she's kind of taken over, hasn't she? She even though I'm sorry. What was I? I don't know what I'm talking about. They have an argument.
I understand this because Leanne's acting as though she's the main parent, and I guess that many people would consider her to be so because she's a primary
she's the one that he stays with most of the time,
and also there's always this this kind of prejudice towards mothers as the main, and even Coronation Street is doing this as well, because it's focusing on Leanne's reaction over Steve. We're getting the priority of
it's like 75% Leanne, this story.
Steve is a bit player in this.
Was it even seeing Steve's reaction like where Leanne was almost hysterical when she finds out the news? Steve is just there, head in his hands, like his world is collapsing, but I guess he's got to be strong for Leanne. They can't wail about it together. And I really like this scene, because this is the one that ends with Leanne saying, look, when Ollie's gone, you're still going to have Emma, you're still going to have Amy, I'm not going to have anybody. And then it cuts to Simon, and that was like And the thing is, and I feel guilty as well, because when Leanne was saying it, I was thinking, she's not going to have and I forgot about Simon as well.
I know.
So when seeing Simon there, for me as a viewer, was the double whammy of, oh God, I forgot about him, but also...
no, Leanne, you can't say that.
That's the last thing you want to hear your mum saying.
Well, let's explain to people who perhaps haven't watched Coronation Street for years and years and years. Leanne isn't actually Simon's mum.
I'm sure there must have been
Peter-
some viewers this week that are, only recently tuned in that wouldn't have got that.
Peter is Simon's dad, biological dad, and he had Simon with Lucy.
Yeah.
And Lucy died, and she was only in the show very, very briefly. But then Simon came to live with Peter, but Peter was an alcoholic, and this is when he was with Leanne, and so they both kind of like not adopted, but sort of in the colloquial
since
term.
he's been like 5 or so,
He's
Leanne's
lived with
been
Leanne,
his
and he
mum.
loved Leanne so much.
He even named a rabbit after her.
And basically, Peter set fire to the flat when he was drunk, and nearly killed everybody. And I think, was that the end of the last straw for him? Basically, when Leanne and Peter split up, Leanne took Simon.
Basically. And
so,
he's been here, there. He's been like off, he's been to LA, he's been to Portsmouth.
Peter, this is why.
He's a wandering soul.
This is one of the reasons why I am still not a massive Peter fan, and I find all of his front about how amazing and life-changed he is to be just that, a load of old cobblers. Because he has a son that he doesn't even live with because he's so irresponsible and such a bad parent that a woman who's not even related to this poor child has adopted him, and he would rather live with him than Peter. And the thing is, you can say that Peter's doing it because he knows that Leanne's a better parent than he could be, but Peter's fine with it. Peter's never once has sort of really put up a fight and gone, I want my son back. And I just think, say what you like about the character, but there's something a bit disturbing to me about that. About a man who allows somebody else to raise his child.
And I know that Peter wasn't raised by Ken either, but you'd have thought you might want to try and correct those.
I don't want to
mistakes.
disparage Leanne, and I think that Peter and Simon should have lived with Leanne because I really like their bond. But it just really bothers me that Peter's never really put up a fight or done anything that particularly to make me think he's responsible for the fact that he created life and now doesn't care about it.
Yeah, he'd
but
rather
anyway,
just go sailing off on his boat some days.
But just to explain that basically Leanne's not the biological mother of Simon, but to all intents and purposes, he is the mum that he's known.
How much do you consider her his mum? Because I still don't.
I always think oh, that's his fake mum.
So do I.
But in a mean way, like in.
And she's been his mum a lot longer than she's not been his mum.
But not in like a. I would always consider.
Lucy.
Like no. I'm just trying to say, I don't want to make myself sound like a monster and like always think, oh, you're not really a real parent if you're not biologically related, because we've spoken before about adoption and fostering and things. But I think it's because Coronation Street pushes so hard about Leanne being Simon's mum, but we know that she isn't, and they never clarify it.
And they've got a close bond, but they've also had a bit of a tumultuous
definitely
relationship as well. I mean, it was 5-6 years ago
yeah.
when he was beating up Leanne, Simon was.
Yeah.
And we've had the "you're not my real mum" card played a lot.
They do a great job of milking maximum drama and pathos from this relationship that Leanne and Simon have, don't they?
Yeah. So anyway,
but yeah, just to clarify,
Simon has just heard his fake mum, saying that, but basically forgetting about him, and
well, just kind of his worst fears about him not really being her child, coming from her mouth, and her saying, "I don't have anyone." He's
always kind of thought that, hasn't he?
Because the thing is, if you're a child and a baby comes along onto the scene, the older you are, the more resentful you become. And Simon probably resents Ollie quite a lot because he's the flavour of the month. And he probably always had in the back of his mind that maybe Ollie is the favoured child because he is actually Leanne's real baby. And then he hears it from the horse's mouth.
It's a bit like, and here's an old Corrie reference, when Concepta and Harry Hewitt had baby Christopher, and Lucille, who was jealous. 12, 13 at the time, got dead jealous.
Yeah.
And she, so it's like that.
It's like that.
Like that indeed. Anyway.
Poor old Simon, because Simon's already a bit of a drama queen. So, of course,
he can get angry.
He reacts to this
Simon.
in the worst way possible.
Yeah, well, he just drops out. He doesn't let her know that he's heard
No, it's a secret.
her yet. So he goes off, and this is when he sees Amy, and she says, "Look, you need to tell you're going off to your exam. Well, just tell the teachers what's going on, and they might be lenient with you." And he's like, "Oh, I'm not even related to Ollie. Why would anybody care?" And we later see him ducking out of his exam, and then coming back home. So. Meanwhile, Steve is trying to comfort Leanne and saying, "Look, we've had this amazing little boy, 3 years. Hopefully we'll have him longer."
No, this is not what you think when you have a baby.
No.
He also mentions Rory.
Did he?
I thought he mentioned something about Rory and saying something about it's not the same.
Maybe he did.
I know it's not the same thing. If Michelle had been there, she would have probably shrieked into Leanne's face, going, "At least you had your child for 3 years."
Leanne, I'm not blaming her for this or anything, but Leanne is kind of making it all about her. She's not being selfish. But Steve, this is the second kid that he thought that he was going to have and has lost in, 3 years or so?
But to be fair, Leanne is so upset she can't think of anyone else.
No, I'd quite like to see a scene, or more scenes, where Steve breaks down, and maybe to Tracy or to Ken or somebody, or to Liz, and we get to see more about him, because he's having to put up this brave front.
This is very tricky because as a society, we definitely undervalue the experience and input of male parents, don't we?
Yeah.
The mum is like the key figure for lots of people, and the very fact that Coronation Street is focusing on Leanne rather than Steve is part of that. But at the same time, Leanne, that was part of her body. He was part of her body for 9 months, and we never got very much from Leanne about I want a baby. But when she had Ollie, like you said before, suddenly it's all she ever wanted. You can understand why we're focusing more on Leanne, but I just do think it's a shame, and there's definitely this is what I'm trying to say. There's definitely biological reasons why we focus more on mothers, and some fathers are rubbish and they don't care, and you can be a father and have no input whatsoever on a child's life apart from to impregnate the mother, can't you?
Yeah.
But I just don't know whether things like this add to us undervaluing the role of a father. Yeah. But I think Coronation Street is right to focus on Leanne. Because
I think they are in this case
yeah,
as well.
Yeah, but I think that people also identify more with women because we're sort of trained to care if we see a woman crying more than we do about a man, and that's a sad fact. But again, can Coronation do something about that? Well, they could do if they wanted to, but they...
Yeah, they showed with the Aiden story that it's important to listen to men as well.
I guess I'm kind of unfocused in what I'm trying to say here, but...
The end of that scene was devastating as well, when Steve says, I'll go and take Ollie out if you like, and she listens to him on the baby monitor. I can't remember what he's saying.
He's just being a nice, sweet dad.
Yeah, nice dad about it.
And just kind of like talking to him like nothing's wrong.
Tears. Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's heartbroken. Then Toyah comes round, and Leanne's sobbing again that she can't watch her son die. Toyah realises, let's maybe not push the fostering issue right now. So she's having to be strong, really strong for her sister. Yeah, inside Toyah's heart is probably breaking as well, because the last glimmer of hope for her and Imran getting a foster kid anytime soon is out of the window.
When Leanne said, "Toyah, I can't watch my son die,"
I know.
That was horrible.
Leanne, on top of this, Leanne has to deal with Simon ducking out of his exam because she gets a phone call. She's been able to get a nap, hasn't she? Been considering that she maybe didn't get any sleep last night.
What she must do.
She's woken up by a nap by yet another problem that she could do without, which is Simon not taking his exam.
This.
Confronts him when he gets home.
I really like this. This was like I felt like for a minute everything else, like she didn't have to worry about Oliver, because it was like the old Leanne came back, because she woke up, she answered the phone, and immediately her face was just pissed off Leanne. Like, what the hell The hell, Simon?
Yeah, but when he comes home and is confronted by it, he's in no mood to listen to her because he knows what she said earlier.
Yep.
He blames her, but doesn't.
Simon is always
Stops himself
tell
from
you what,
saying it. He could have that could have turned into an argument. I think Simon showed amazing restraint by not just throwing it back in her face right then.
No one holds a grudge like Simon Barlow.
Oh no, totally. So that was the end of Wednesday's episode. Friday, Peter finds Simon in Victoria Gardens, and he thinks the exam's gone badly, and he's like, "Oh, never mind, son." Simon's like,
This
"It's
is what
only
I mean.
Ari."
This is the thing. Peter can be the cool dad, like the cool parent. Don't worry, son, it doesn't matter. Because he literally has no stake in Simon's future or cares at all.
Yeah.
Like, a normal parent would be like, what the hell what do you mean? You failed your exam. Well, what can we do? Well, right.
I think
like, we have to sort this out. We have to do this, that and the other thing. Literally means nothing to Peter. He's not going to be involved in any of the fallout.
He said you can retake it,
Yeah, but he knows he's not going to be involved in any of it. He's like, it literally means nothing to me. It's like somebody was making a cake and they found out the eggs were rotten. Well, I'm not eating the cake anyway, so you should just make another one.
I think you've been a bit harsh on Peter. I think he realises that Simon's world has been turned upside down at the moment, and he thinks the last thing that Simon needs is to be dragged across the coals.
Tell
just
me the difference
one exam that he's missed.
between Peter reacting to Simon and saying, don't worry about it because your whole world's collapsing around your ears, and Peter saying, don't worry about it because I don't care either. There's no difference.
Whatever, fine. Simon then admits, he tells Peter everything that he heard, and he's convinced that Leanne wishes it was him that was dead. And even though Leanne fell short of saying that, I can totally understand Simon, who's always had in the back of his mind the idea that his mum doesn't value him as her real son.
Well, because it's not just that, but it's also all the times he mistreated her as well.
Yeah.
And he must carry some guilt for that too.
I think so. Toyah, meanwhile, is breaking the news to Imran, who's gutted about this. Ali is there as well and says, don't mentioning the foster to anyone. Keep it a secret.
Toyah keeps saying to everyone, don't tell anyone, and we were going to foster like it's
I know,
dirty
Toyah's
secret.
just like,
don't tell anyone, we were going to snatch
it.
a baby.
I mean, not many people know at the moment, do they? It's just Ryan, Craig, and Alia.
Oh, yeah.
For the fact that Toyah said it so much is making me think someone's going to blab.
By accident.
And I think, it could be anyone, to be honest. Craig could be, or Ryan could because he's a bit dense. Craig could. I don't know. I could imagine.
No, I
him.
don't know. It felt a bit repetitive.
It did a little bit. Nick, again, we see quite a lot of today's episode. He's seeing Steve with Ollie again, feeling why isn't Ollie with me? La la la. He doesn't know how on earth he's going to support Leanne through this that she's going through, and at the same time supporting himself because Ollie's really important to him too.
Yeah.
What else did we have? Peter going and telling Leanne very gently what Simon overheard. And I found her reaction fascinating because when he says it, Leanne's face almost is like, I didn't say that. I don't remember saying that. I thought
Jane's answer, and this, I don't think people will sort of go, yeah, this was a great performance, because I think that the her devastating acting and her crying and everything is a lot more emotional, and it tugs on your heartstrings more. But this was also a really great performance because I totally believed that she did not remember.
So did I.
Like she just played it so well. Like I genuinely don't remember ever saying this, and she just looked like really bewildered. Like why would I even say that? And she just couldn't remember.
We all say things, in moments of high drama and tension, and she played that absolutely perfectly. And so what else is going on? Peter says to her, look, Simon needs to know that he's yours, so you said this, sure, I know that you didn't mean it, you need to let Simon know that you didn't mean it. I thought
this was also another this is probably what the line that got my goat the most, to make me take against Peter today in this podcast thing, but him just saying he needs to know he's yours. It's like, well, why would he be in doubt, Peter? Perhaps because his actual biological father basically rejected him. No wonder he's so insecure.
Yeah, when Simon is being rejected by Leanne, does he kind of think that he's on his own now?
Well, yeah, this is the thing. And him saying, oh, he needs to know he's yours.
Because yeah,
What
Peter
have
has
you
been
ever done
flaky
to
dad.
make Simon think that you are his dad, Peter? Don't tell Leanne what to do.
The foster lady comes back to Toyah and Imran's flat later and is basically
another
told...
great performance when Toyah was like trying to
we
tell her.
we don't think it's the right
devastating
time
news,
to be
and she's
fostering.
trying not to cry. Oh my god!
And Imran there is still clinging on
Going,
to...
never say never, never say never.
Yeah, he's clearly completely
Gutted.
by this indeed. Simon comes home, Leanne apologises to him. He doesn't particularly want to accept it, which I think was very much in character for Simon.
Yeah, he likes sulking.
Yeah, he does like a good sulk. And he's like, well, I'm going to move back in with me dad. He's just been passed from pillar to post all his life, really, Simon, hasn't he? And
he's trying to punish Leanne as well, but...
Yeah, I mean, and this is bad as well because, I mean, at the moment, Peter's living in the Rovers with Carla, but now Jenny's back. Is Peter homeless again?
Where the hell is Simon going to go?
Yeah.
Nick
back
comes
to number one, I don't know.
And Leanne tells him what happened, and so Nick goes in the street and has a go at Peter for upsetting Leanne.
That was a great scene. I
thought it was going to be a fight.
Yeah, it was very, very close, wasn't it? And Nick and Peter have got history with that.
It was only because Sarah separated them, because they were arguing, and they're like, yeah, what? And yeah, come on then.
Nick just wants to... He's had to...
hold
himself back, helpless. And he just wants to lash out at something and someone because he's had to be the stoic, solid supporter.
He can't do anything, but he can beat Peter up.
Yeah,
that's probably what he's thinking. Like, I might not be able to save Ollie's life, but I can definitely beat the crap out of Peter Barlow.
He was being like a kid in the playground, wasn't he? Just like, pushing him. Like, he wanted Peter to lamp him, and I guess he wanted.
He wanted to do something.
I mean, I suppose it's a bit like David, wasn't it? Cajoling these other people to chase him and maybe beat him up, and Nick as well. He just wants to, feel something else at the moment, and maybe have...
Let's make another problem, because all these ones are too overwhelming.
So you're right, Sarah Lou comes on and splits them up.
And then Tracy comes over as well. And then I think...
Tracy's like, this is only just the beginning.
Yeah, this isn't going to be...
Start a really long storyline.
This storyline's going to be so depressing, Sarah. I'm actually going to leave.
No. Steve offers to take Ollie for the night. Imran's nursing a drink in a pub later, and Alia comes over and she promises him things are going to be all right and takes him off. And it's starting to make me wonder, like, is there going to be something between Imran and Alia?
I thought that too, but I was like, no, please, thank you very much.
Imran, you've got better taste than Alia, surely.
Oh, but also...
Sarah's a lovely looking lady, but Alia, you don't want that.
Alia is such a skank.
She's not a skank. She's just a bit of a nag. She's a bit of a dullard.
If anything were to happen between Alia and Imran, it would have taken both of them to make that happen. So, preemptively calling her a skank, I think, is fair enough.
I don't want Imran to be a love rat in this.
No.
Unless he's a comedy love rat, like when he was dating Leanne and Toyah at one time.
You can't be a comedy love rat.
He totally was.
You can't be a comedy love rat during a storyline where you're rejected by your girlfriend who can't foster a child because her sister's got a child who's got a terminal illness.
No.
Not comedy love rat material.
But yeah, he does have form for seeing two at once, and it did remind me. I think it's that purple polo neck, because that was the purple polo neck he was wearing during that scene with Leanne and Toyah, and now he's wearing it again. I think it's taking him over and leading him astray.
I bought you one of those, didn't I? So now I think I'm gonna have to burn it. Why are you making excuses and saying the purple polo neck leads to cheating? Are you trying to set yourself up an alibi or something?
It's on tape now as well.
It's just irresistible. Look how lovely. Everyone knows purple's a royal colour.
I tell you what, I cannot be doing with Imran going off and having a secret love triangle.
This is gonna happen.
I know, but sometimes they set these things up and you can see the signs, and it could be nothing.
I did think that. Why is there this scene here? This is a strange scene.
Does Alia want a kid? I don't know, maybe. But she is going out with Ryan at the moment, so maybe we could have Ryan and Imran coming to blows.
It was weird because Imran was just sitting there minding his own business with alcohol, trying to drink like a scotch or whatever. And then she comes over and she's like, "You're not going to drink that, are you?" And he's like, "And then she goes, "Let's go." And they both go, but I don't know where they go. or why wherever they were going to go is going to be better than sitting at the bar with a scotch, and why did he order a scotch if he doesn't want one, and why does Alia know that he didn't want to drink it? It was all very, what a strange
And when I'm thinking that
scene.
also Alia could be very, very grateful to Imran if and when he gets Yasmin off of these charges.
So if he gets Yasmin off, she'll get him off.
That's what I'm saying. It could happen. Seriously, don't
Please
want it
don't.
to happen, because Imran, so far, you know, he's had the odd blip, but haven't we all? He's an honourable gent, and Toyah doesn't deserve to be treated badly and cheated on by him. Because I think they're a lovely couple.
I know.
And it's so nice to have them have a story about being a couple.
And also, if you were to be, say Leanne, like, says, no, I actually do want you to have a child, go ahead with the fostering, and then Imran cheats on Toyah, do you think the foster lady will be like, don't worry about it? Or do you think she'd say, oh, I can't actually let you have a kid now because you're irresponsible?
Right, yeah. I'd also feel really bad for Ryan, because he's onto a good thing with Alia. They're not too bad together, those two. And he's been a real rock for Alia during this whole Yasmin affair as well.
His link to the street is so tenuous now. Michelle is gone, but literally, if he wasn't dating Alia, why would he be there?
Yeah, Speeddale's the only place that'll let him do a DJ gig.
Yeah,
but they're going to be closing soon.
Only at lunchtime.
So anyway, that's left as a who knows what and a maybe.
Who knows what that's about.
But then we have this last scene between Nick and Peter around the back of the Rovers, where Nick comes and breaks down in front of his former adversary, saying, "Oh, no, he's not mine, but he kind of is, if you know what I mean. I really love him." So he finally has got somebody to open up to and cry in front of, because he can't do that in front of Leanne, so he's got to be strong for her. And I thought that was lovely, but sad.
Yeah, we've said all along that
Nick
is an interesting character in this, because he's on the periphery, and
there's just so many people on the periphery. He's on the periphery, Imran is, Steve is.
Yeah, I know, but
all the guys are on the periphery.
No, I was going to say, it is interesting because his parallel is Tracy. And Tracy, we've not really seen anything of Tracy.
No.
Because Steve is so uninvolved in Oliver's life that the impact is not as much on Tracy as Steve's partner as it is on Nick. Because I think that Ollie lives with them full time, really. It feels that way, doesn't it? That's
his house.
Poor
the
Nick.
Or flat or whatever. I know.
Because being pushed out to the edge and feeling grief, but not having a sort of a stake in a bigger share as other people, can alienate you a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you feel like, well, I can't make this about me, and I've got to take a back seat to other people's grief, but equally these are still real feelings that I'm having, and who can I talk to about it?
It was very nice to see two former enemies bonding like that. I'd be interested to see Imran and Nick sort of finding common ground
about what?
Well, the fact that it's not about them. They're both
Imran and Nick.
They're both in situations where they feel that it should be about them.
No, they don't feel it should be about them.
Well, Nick wants it to be about.
No,
Nick does.
Doesn't.
He's not feeling the same grief as Steve is. But...
No, you're totally misconstruing what I'm saying. You don't want it to be about you.
No.
If you're feeling grief, but other people have a stronger reason to than you do, you don't want to be. You don't feel like, oh, I'm going to snatch as much grief as I can.
Grief snatcher.
You feel alienated and guilty for the grief that you do feel, because you know that other people's is worse, and you feel, I can't burden anybody with my feelings because they're going through it worse than I am. I don't know where you got he wants to make it about him.
No, I don't mean that. I don't mean that.
If anyone tried to make it all about them this week, it was Jenny.
He's feeling really, really upset about this, but doesn't feel that he can vocalise this to other people because he knows that it's a lot worse for other people. And I think that's the same or similar for Imran as well.
Yeah.
His whole world has been turned upside down this week because he was on cloud 9 on the beginning of Monday's episode. But it's not the right time for him to say, no, I was wanting my foster kid, this isn't fair. he knows he's got to be strong for Toyah, who's been strong for Leanne.
I mean, Toyah is totally putting Leanne's feelings before. I mean, it's definitely her choice to put Leanne's feelings before her own, but I think she hasn't thought enough about Imran.
No, she's been the one to say.
Imran has just let her. It's gone. Yeah, I understand. But he should have put up a bit more of a fight, and it would be frustrating if this does end up causing them relationship problems, because Toyah is totally disregarding his feelings. Even when he was saying, "Oh yeah, I just feel really upset because Rana and etc." And she's like, "Yeah, but
She did at least agree to speak to Leanne, even though she didn't speak to her in the end, because she realised that maybe it wasn't the right time.
This is a really great storyline because you really can understand how everyone feels.
Yeah.
And all the conflicts, are totally natural. Nothing feels forced. Everything is a consequence of the way things feel naturally.
Do you think that Imran was being a bit insensitive by trying to push it a little bit further?
No. Because say Toyah was pregnant, what would she do? Go have an abortion? No, she wouldn't. So things happen in life, and Leanne probably would find it very difficult.
Yeah.
But she might find it difficult. She might not find it difficult.
Yeah, how do you think Leanne would feel if she found out that this has been going on?
She's going to get mad if she finds
her
out
back, she'll
that
think.
It's happened behind her back.
Yeah. Would you say that her reaction was realistic?
What reaction?
The reaction to everything, and the fact that she's
Whose?
Leanne, and her denial, her sort of screaming and shouting.
Well, I don't know, do I? Seems realistic to me.
Yeah, it feels it's very much in character. Some people would just want to, curl up into a ball.
Leanne, I said to you at the time when she was having a go at Toyah, I was like, I can't believe people really do this in real life. I've never ever come across anybody who sort of takes it out on other people, who screams at people. Like, my family are like really, really, I think, try to not show feelings too much, to not upset other people. And I think I do that as well. Like, I don't want to burden other people with my grief or share my feelings, because I don't want to upset people and make them feel bad. I can't imagine shouting at somebody because I'm sad and trying to make them feel bad, or
when you're upset and I'm trying to find out what's wrong with you, you don't like to say, do you?
I don't want to talk about it.
No, and then I say, what's up, and just niggle you,
because I don't want it to, partly it's I don't want things to be true, and partly it's because I don't want to upset people, because it makes me upset, and it turns into a spiral of being upset.
Leanne wears her heart on the sleeve.
But Leanne's always been a very bolshy, in your face, quick to share her thoughts kind of a person. So it makes sense that but she just is so destructive, isn't she? She's damaged 2 relationships in 1 week. She's put Toyah back by having a go at her. And it really is just Leanne's luck that Toyah is so forgiving and sort of emotionally intelligent enough to understand that it's not her she was having a go at. And she's also ruined her relationship with Simon, and inadvertently has she also damaged Toyah and Imran's relationship with the way that she's reacted to this situation. But you can blame her. This is the worst thing that could ever happen to anybody.
Totally. I just want to again say it, performances, though that's the kind of the character stuff, but acting stuff, I would say everybody that really stepped up to the plate this week.
Really good.
I was so impressed. Jane is just, I'm not saying that she's the best actress. They're all brilliant, but
she's been given the most.
She's been given the most to do, and has not slipped up once. She's been very, very believable. She's been, pretty amazing this week. And I'm glad, because we spoke about 2020 so far in the podcast last week, and it felt very much that the major story was the Yasmin and Jeff one, and that there hasn't quite been another story that's had so much emotional impact and so much drama as that one. And just this week, this storyline has showed, look, this is the next big story. And when you look back on 2020, it's not just going to be Jeff and Yasmin you remember. It's going to be this as well.
Yeah.
maybe it's a bit too soon after the Sinead story, some people would say. I wonder whether they looked at the reaction that the Sinead tragedy had last year and thought, how can we get, appeal to those?
It just feels to me as though at the moment Coronation Street really, really thinks that you can't have one of the biggest dramas that people can go through is medical drama. But that wasn't always the case. Like, we've gone through years of affairs are the most traumatic thing that can happen, and everything, all the big storylines revolved around people sneaking around and cheating on each other. And I mean, in Coronation Street, in the early years, we went decades without anybody getting an illness.
Yeah, not so much as a sniffle.
I don't know why Coronation Street is so fixated in recent years, and it started with Hayley.
I don't know whether it started there, but I mean, you could say
Where
it
did
started
you say
with...
it started with then?
Well, I mean, you could say it started with Alma and her cervical cancer.
Yeah, but that was a long time between Alma and Hayley.
There might have been more, I can't remember.
It just feels as though...
whether there have been others, it seems to have ramped up a little bit more, and I would kind of bundle Aidan in amongst that as
and
well.
Also
as
Johnny
a mental
with his
illness. Stuff. Yeah.
I wouldn't put Aidan in with it. I understand why you want to, but I'm just saying I don't think that this is the extent and the depth of human emotions in modern life. I don't know why we keep coming back to this well that I feel has been drained already. There's only so many permutations of someone dies of an illness.
It is noble in a way for Soap to say, I want to raise awareness of this condition and raise money for the charity.
Yeah.
But
there are other things that even say Jack's leg. That was a really good storyline, but it wasn't an A storyline. It wasn't the biggest storyline of the year, but it could very well have been.
Yeah.
And people who lose a limb have an impact in their life, and you could argue just as important to raise awareness about that. Why do we have to keep having storylines with illnesses with fatal consequences? I just think, when did Hayley die?
2014.
So it's 6 years, 5 or 6 years, and we're having 3 major character deaths from illness. Don't see the need for it.
There isn't a need, but I don't think I've had a problem, and I'd probably rather it was this than more affairs and more love triangles. But maybe the time will come when I'll be sick of this, but I'm not there yet. And like I've said in the past, and I've not been shy about saying, I'm glad that they're being ballsy enough to kill off Oliver, because that's a big move, and it's going to result in some great acting.
I mean, this storyline seems more than the Sinead storyline and more than the Hayley storyline to have implications and ramifications that spread beyond a small character. Like Sinead dying, obviously that was Daniel and the Barlows and
Bethany.
the Tinkers. Yeah. But it didn't really affect anyone's relationship with each other.
Yeah.
This
it didn't have ripples.
This has already now affected people's relationships, and it is really interesting to see that happen. But the sad, desperate, horrific, slow death of somebody you love in a show, somebody people care about deeply, it just feels like they're up in the ante every time,
Who are you talking about cares about deeply? Viewers or characters?
Just the characters,
I don't think there's many viewers
but I'm
that
just
are...
saying, Hayley was a beloved character, arguably, well, not arguably, she was more beloved than these other 2 characters.
Oh, yeah.
But then you've got Sinead, who's like the perfect victim, like the beautiful blonde young mother with everything to live for. And now you've got a small child who is 3 years old and is not going to live to be an adult.
It does make you wonder, where can they go from here?
This is what I mean. What are they going to do next?
I mean, we also had Eccles dying not 2 months ago, did we?
It's just, I just think, I can see where they've got new drama from this that's different from the previous people dying of cancer and illness. But I just think that it should be put off limits now.
I
Medical drama is really it's a rich well of human suffering, but Coronation Street's not about that, is it? It's about everything. It's about the entire range of human experiences, and we're just having too much of this and not enough of all the other stuff.
I think if there was another one that came in the next 12 months, I might at that point go, enough is enough. But yeah, it's honestly, it's not bothering me at the moment.
Well, good for you.
Thanks. Gemma, we have got a few other little storylines that were running in tandem with the serious case of the Ollie Wobbles this week. So Seb and Alina and Emma, we last left Emma with her hand in a vase.
Losing track of what is going on with Seb, Emma and Alina. And what so Emma wants to get back with Seb, and Seb wants to get back with Alina, but Alina won't get with Seb because she feels a loyalty to Emma.
Something like that. It's pretty dull.
I can't believe I ever cared about this.
I know. It's gone. It's changed so quickly, hasn't it? From around Christmas, we were like,
really don't know
why can't you go out with both of them? He's so perfect for both of them. How have I
got so mad? I think it's because Seb's not been in it at all. I feel nothing for Seb now.
I like Seb, but I don't think it goes much further.
Where's
than that.
he been?
I think I preferred Alina when she was a bit of a victim in the nail bar. Anyway, it's a bit of a cow.
So yeah, as you said, Emma's got her hand stuck in the vase, and they get it out. So if you were worried about it over the weekend, there was really you fretted yourself for no reason.
I knew that it wouldn't happen, but I so wanted Monday's episode to be the adventures of Emma with her hand in a vase. And
it could have been hilarious if she kept trying to hide it from people, and or walking around or trying to get something, or even like.
The thing is, I don't know whether Monday's episode in which Leanne and Steve found out about Ollie could have sustained quite so overt humour, because I think it could have been funny, and I think Ali could have done a really good job. Maybe it wouldn't have fitted, but like I said last week in the podcast, if this was the 1970s and they had the one where Hilda gets her hand stuck in a vase, that could go down as
episode.
Yet another Ogden comedy caper extraordinaire. But they didn't even try.
They just basically it just came off.
Yeah.
So Alina is getting missed calls from Seb. She's helping Emma, but she's supposed to be meeting Seb for a date. And then Liz calls round.
It was friends' date, wasn't it? They weren't having a proper date. They were having a drink with friends.
Liz calls round and says, "Please don't let Emma go anywhere. Or no, don't let Alina go anywhere because you're going to need somebody." We don't see her get told.
We don't see Liz at all, do we?
But Liz tells Emma
over the phone.
Alina that Ollie's got this disease, and so she cried. And I forgot this is the thing about Coronation Street. It's so incestuous that literally everyone's crying about Ollie because they're in some way related to him.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So she's crying because she's like, I only just got to know him. It's really unfair. It's like he's my brother, and I.
Yeah, my new brother that I've only just got to know.
So Alina's having to comfort her and eventually tells Seb that she texts him, says, "I'm not coming." Or does she call him?
She calls him.
I'm not. Yeah, she leaves a voice message. "I'm not coming. It was a stupid idea. We can't treat Emma like this. Don't ask me again."
Yeah, she's just like
I say she's playing hard to get.
This is going to mess with Emma's head. We absolutely can't
do this.
We can't go there. I can see Emma getting upset by this, but equally, I don't know whether they've done enough to establish a real close connection between Emma and Ollie in the past 6 months. But
okay.
On
Wednesday, Alina is pleased that Emma and Seb seem to have made up, and she's going to support them. And then she talks to Michael about what's happened at work and says sometimes you just have to do the right thing.
Yeah, as in stepping away.
Yeah, and then sometimes you just have to prolong the storyline. On Friday, Emma goes into the back room, and this is when we see Jenny. I was making a joke about her making it all about herself, but she wasn't really. She was thinking about Tom.
I loved this. I thought this had been forgotten.
I really like this as well. This reminds everybody about Jenny's depth of the character.
I know, it's hooray! They've given Jenny a serious scene.
She did it really
This is what
well.
we've wanted.
And she was like she just kind of said like, this just reminds me of my son.
She talks about when they were in, I think she was saying when they were in France, and it was an anniversary, and Johnny and I found a quiet spot that Tom would have liked, and just had a moment of reflection, and that scene absolutely did not need to happen. I think that's did it. I don't know whether it progressed the plot in or any way. I don't know whether it particularly spurred Emma on to doing what she does next. It was just a lovely moment of reminding us and throwing a bone to the fans and saying that this, like you said, this story is affecting everybody. It's having the ripples are running wide, and Jenny, I know that she puts on a bit of a front and she can be a bit ditzy and outrageous, but she's had tragedy too, and this kind of news is going to make people remember some of that.
Yeah.
Unless you're Kevin, of course, who forgets about his kids or his dead children all the time. But yeah, I really, really did appreciate that scene. Thank you very much, Coronation Street.
Yeah, she says, what's she say, Steve?
She's just saying, look, even though she's upset, she still feels that she has to reassure Emma about this. Because Emma's worried about how's my new dad ever going to get over this, and Jenny says, I've been through what Steve's going through, kind of, and eventually and slowly you're going to put the pieces back together.
Well, she's don't worry, he's going to be fine.
You've got her. He's got you to support him, and so on.
Yeah.
And then they have a little manicure session at the end of this
Emma and
episode.
Alina paints Emma's nails, I think.
Yeah, and
then she talks about her experience with when her brother was ill. He had meningitis, and she's talking about how difficult it is to be away from your family. And because Emma was talking about how strange it is now she's suddenly got this big family, and then Emma says that she and Seb can be Alina's Weatherfield family,
which I thought was lovely.
It would be really lovely if they weren't both trying to sneak around behind Emma's back and.
Yeah, I know. It was weird that Seb actually in. He wasn't in it at all this week, was it?
This is what I mean. I really can't care about who ends up dating Seb if I don't care about Seb, and I can't care about Seb if he's just not there.
Yeah, it's.
I used to really like Seb.
I think Seb is the sort of character that he can quickly get back into your affections.
I'm
if
sure
he's
he
given
will.
the right stuff to do.
He's given a chance,
some good scenes with Abby as well. But yeah, so still, not quite feeling this story, and it feels like it's not anywhere close to being over either. But it also feels like it could well be. That's the last we hear about it for a long time, and then 2 months later, when it comes back again, we'll have forgotten what's going on at the moment. Fiz and Tyrone's story this week, I flipping loved, and this was we said that the comedy was a nice compliment to the drama and tragedy that was going on with Leanne and Steve and everything, but I found the everyday banality of day-to-day life at the Dobbs Stape household was absolutely lovely and a really welcome relief from the heavy drama. I thought it was lovely. It basically involves Fiz and Tyrone agreeing to have it was, what was it last week?
They were like saying,
we're stuck in a rut.
We're like Jack and Vera.
Yeah, Fiz has this revelation when she looks at the picture of Jack and Vera on the sideboard that they're the new Jack and Vera. It's just because Jack's lying there. Sorry, they really are turning into Jack and Vera. Tyrone's there in his vest. He finds the very notion of this hilarious, and says, "Look, tomorrow we'll get some fancy food. We'll have a nice dinner." Jack and Vera never would have done this, although I think maybe they would have sometimes. But and then he goes out and he's like, I can't do a Jack impression. But Alan did a fantastic Jack impression. Just go and feed the pigeons.
Yeah,
I thought that was hilarious. He played that just right. I think I've seen Alan do Jack before, because Bill Timey was sort of a mentor to Alan, wasn't he, in his early acting days, or in Coronation Street. That was a lovely little callback. Wednesday, I feared that the story was veering dangerously off course when Gemma and Chesney are thrown into the mix. And see, when Fiz and Tyrone when Fiz was bemoaning the lack of spark in their relationship last week, it felt natural and normal and nice, and I feel a bit sympathetic for them, and it's like, oh yeah, a lot of people feel this way. But when Gemma started doing it on Wednesday, it just came across as wow, I've got quads, isn't my life terrible? And I struggled to feel any sympathy to her at all. but they're feeling the same sort of thing, really. And Fizz sees Chesney sweeping up the pavement outside Prima Donna and says, that's normal, you've got babies involved, you're not going to be able to, the relationship won't be the same as it was beforehand. Although there wasn't much between Chesney and Chesney and Gemma beforehand, was there? Because he wasn't going to stay with her, at one point. But anyway, she says, look, Ty and me are having dinner out together. You should have something like this, which Chesney takes as an invitation to come round for dinner. And the comedy misunderstanding that leads itself to. Chesney gets a babysitter. Paul and Billy have to cancel their date night in town, whatever's going on there.
Well, they don't have kids, they can do it whenever they like. They should be there. Summer's not a child. Summer's I'm convinced Summer is a robot. He just makes little robots to throw you off.
Friday's episode starts with more of Gemma moaning, and Chesney says, well, we're going out tonight, so there you go. And Gemma is I did find it quite nice to see Gemma cheer up immediately at the news that she was going to have a nice dinner. Then meanwhile, later on, over at Fizz and Tyrone's house, Fizz comes down, she's all glammed up, Jenny McAlpine.
Lovely.
Gorgeous hair, sparkly top,
yeah.
looking the bee's knees. Tyrone's preparing, what is it?
Prawn cocktail.
Shut
up. That's amazing. Prawn cocktail and steak with all the trimmings.
Yeah.
And we were having a discussion about what does all the trimmings entail.
Yeah, so it's, what do I say, chips. Nice
I think it's going to be chips on big thick.
I imagine
chips,
for Fizz and Tyrone it's big thick chips, fried egg, maybe.
I would think just a big field mushroom and a half a tomato.
Half a tomato with some herbs chucked on the top
and
of
a bit
it,
of mustard.
maybe. Yeah, something like that. And
like you get
creme brulee for pudding.
Oh, lovely.
Sounds like a nice meal.
See, Michael, you wouldn't like prawn cocktail.
I would not like the prawn cocktail.
What would you have? What was your...
Well, when it's Christmas, I have the...
you have pate.
Pate on toast, don't I? Or a nice soup or something. Anyway, the mood is ruined, though, when Gemma and Chesney show up under the impression that they've been invited to this dinner party. And Gemma's so excited.
Sparkly hot pants.
She's like, I've never been invited anywhere like this.
And she's got her hair in two little buns.
Yeah.
Sailor Moon buns.
The misunderstanding all comes out, and...
They're basically going, no, you can't stay.
Yeah, we've only got 2 steaks, sorry.
And then Gemma
gets mended, and then Fizz is like, stay, in a nice way, like she has a nice smile and is like, oh, go on then. And it ends all basically happily ever after between them.
And they put sausages on.
They have some nice sausages. I just thought this was really lovely, and even though on Wednesday I was not very happy that Gemma and Chesney got involved with it, because I wanted it to be a Fizz and Tyrone story. Just the way it ended was just very nice, and it was awfully twee and everything. Yeah. But it was character. It was completely unnecessary story, yet it seems to have blown up in the soap mags and things with Fizz and Tyrone, the next Jack and Vera. But it was just lovely, and a much needed respite from everything else that was going on.
I think they had a good balance
of
of sweet little vignettes and also the drama of Ollie.
Yeah.
And using established characters like Fizz and Tyrone as well.
The notion that they are the next Jack and Vera is ridiculous, and just the thought that nobody can compare to them, and I know you put them that they get put on a pedestal and everything, but nobody would agree. And I love Fizz and Tyrone.
Well, they're not the same kind of personalities for a start.
No,
they're not larger than life. That Fizz and Tyrone have never been bigger than their stories.
Mm.
And I would say Jack and Vera were the opposite. Their characters were more important than any story they've ever been in.
They were big caricatures.
Yeah,
they were. I don't think that they're trying. I mean, we saw an interview with Jenny and Alan on, what was it? They were on This Morning a couple of days ago. Oh yeah, I watched that, and Alan said that I'm shying away from the comparisons here. I know that we're not Jack and Vera, but it's their house is a bit of a shrine to Jack and Vera, and I think Coronation Street might like them to be Jack and Vera, but lightning doesn't strike twice there, does it? And I think to be the new Jack and Vera, we'd have to see a lot more of the regular day-to-day stuff with Fizz and
that's the
Tyrone.
point, yeah.
We saw, you know, Jack in his vest and Vera at the kitchen, at the sink, like day in, day out. And when you see that, then you get to know them really, really well. And sadly for me, we only get to see Fizz and Tyrone, you know, once in a blue moon. And yeah, so they're not there yet, but I loved it. Also, absolutely adored what they did with Evelyn and Arthur this week. But that scene in the cafe when Roy and Arthur realise they've got a shared interest in trains.
That's basically
Brilliant.
what happens. On Wednesday,
That's the story, but I loved it.
Evelyn goes into Roy's and buys 2 custard tarts, and Roy works out one of them must be for Arthur's, and he comes in, and then they both start talking about trains together, and Roy and Evelyn's trying to have this little coffee date with her boyfriend, and Roy just muscles in, and they're both chatting on about trains, and she's just like,
The look on Maureen Lipman's face is just perfect, just like the rolling eyes when they're just the pair of massive train geeks.
I think you'll find that this. Oh yeah, well I know that and blah blah blah.
We're just
and
reeling off these codes, the model names of the trains,
and
utter
journeys that they
train
took
spotters about it.
And where they went and what lines they were on.
And Evelyn's like, what have I got myself in for? And Roy, he's not the best at picking up social cues, to be fair to him. He just plows straight on with it. Arthur maybe should have known, but I guess Arthur's just excited to find somebody who's got a shared passion with him.
Train friend.
I absolutely loved it, and I was gutted that this story only got 4 or 5 scenes over the course of the week, and they went off. They were going to meet again in the Rovers in this episode, weren't they? In today's episode, but we just get to see them coming home from that, and Arthur's apologising because he kind of realises that maybe he did go a bit too far with this and pushed Evelyn out, and yet again we're left wanting more, and Evelyn opening up, and she says she's going to text Arthur. We're seeing gradually, so gradually, her starting to open up and let him in.
Good. It should be gradual.
I know.
I'm
moaning that things are too quick a lot of the time. I want it to be gradual, but have more scenes, because every scene with Arthur and Evelyn in is just gold for me.
No pleasing you.
It's brilliant. Yeah. Oh, love it. And then finally we had the return of Jenny, which we've kind of already said. She's back. She comes blustering into the Rovers in the middle of Wednesday's episode. Very matter-of-factly tells Peter that Johnny's there, and that's that. And we get to
Johnny's there is in France.
In France, yeah. And we find out a little bit more from it on Friday, because Scott comes back to the Rovers, realises that Johnny stayed. He has a few knowing looks, like he knows why Johnny stayed in France. But Jenny is clearly in the dark a little bit about it. She says, he was on the phone to Carla, and then I don't know whether I don't know whether she made the link that it was Carla that persuaded him to stay. I don't know why she should say that, but as viewers we know, Carla's told him about what's going on back in the Rovers and that Scott's still there.
Yeah, I just think it was the fact that Scott was still there.
Yeah.
I think that was it. I don't think anything else.
No, but Jenny doesn't realise that the only reason Johnny's coming back, staying there, is because Scott's there, but Scott knows. So he seems like he's perfectly happy to stay on as long as possible. Just because he knows, he's waiting him out. He knows that Johnny can't stay in France forever. Although it is a bit of an annoying soap trope for me for characters to go off on holiday together and then only one of them return, because it does happen, doesn't it? Where you get characters staying out there for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
It's so. I hope it's not too long, because there's only so long that I can keep an interest in what's gone on between Scott and Johnny. There's not been anything else to discuss there particularly, is there? Because no further clues have been dropped this week.
Nope.
And that was this week's Coronation Street.
Yeah.
A jolly good week, I would say. It's a difficult one to score. I really did enjoy it, but it's for some reason it doesn't feel like a 4.5 to me. I think it's feeling like a 4 week for me. What are you thinking? I don't know why not a 4.5. Maybe
It's definitely not 4.5 for
maybe
me.
it's the Emma and Alina stuff and the Scott stuff, which felt a bit unnecessary. I mean, it was great that Jenny was back. Absolutely love Fizz and Tyrone, Arthur and Evelyn. A lot to like in the Ollie Wobbles story. I think there's still there's a lot more to come, and I think that we'll see later weeks, hopefully, when this story will push things up to a 4.5. I'm gonna give this 4 homemade buns made in an actual home this week, unlike those plastic ones that were always got on the side of the cafe, the cafe, because we've seen those up close, and if you were, you would see that they are very, very plasticky.
I give this 4 3-nagers.
3-nagers. That was a reference to that was what Emma called Ollie, wasn't it? And Alina's like, oh, is that what you called them? And Emma's like, no. Alina thinks she's picked up a new piece of vocabulary.
No, she's just rambling nonsense as usual.
I thought that you'd call this, you'd give it 4 boring old farts, which is what Arthur called himself, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe that he said the word
He said
fart.
the F word.
I know. So, character of the week. Last week it felt hard. I can't remember who we went with last week. It didn't feel like anybody was.
Leanne.
It feels like you kind of have to.
Well, I think she deserves it. I think. I don't know what.
I'm just saying it could be Leanne, but then for the performance of Jane, but then equally you could say, well, I think that Toyah's character of the week, because she put up with a lot of abuse from Leanne. She's had to put her life plans on hold to support her sister. That could make it her character of the week. And then comedy wise, you could give it to Evelyn Arthur, but
I'm giving it mine. My award goes to Leanne.
Okay. Would you like to elaborate?
Oh, I think if you watch the show, you might know. But obviously, just her performance, the denial, the confusion, the anger, the sadness. It's just all just heartbreaking. It's so well captured.
Nick's another one as well,
Yeah,
to be
Nick is
fair,
really
character-wise. He didn't have as much to do this week, but if you're thinking about how restrained he's had to be, I'm going to have to go Leanne, but I would say that Toyah is a very close second.
Toyah and Nick are your
and
honorary
Nick,
mentions.
absolutely. We don't often have them. The fact that there are so many just goes to show what
this is
satisfactory and satisfying week it was. Satisfactory actually makes it sound average. Better than satisfactory week.
This is why this kind of drama is chosen for the show.
Yes.
You know? Because it gives everybody a chance to really flex their dramatic muscles and do a fantastic job and live up to everyone's expectations. But you know,
I'm excited.
I don't watch Coronation Street for this. If I wanted to watch a show about medical stuff, I'd watch a medical show.
I'm excited for next week, but I mean,
and there's a reason I don't watch medical shows.
I'm excited for next week, although there's a certain possibility that Seb could come back if that story's going to be in it, and then it could, feel like it's dragging on. If I think the Fizz and Tyrone thing is done for now, I think it's just a little 1 week special.
Aren't we overdue a bit of Jeff and Yasmin?
Yes, we are, and I've been convinced in the last 2 podcasts that the next week would be a Jeff and Yasmin week.
I am.
Got to be, absolutely got to be.
I will be really confused if they're not back next week with more drama.
So if that is in it, and Ollie Wobbles isn't going to go away next week, surely.
I don't know.
I mean, sometimes they do, don't they? Sometimes the big stories inexplicably disappear.
Yeah, but we know he's ill. I mean, they're all coping with it. And now let's see what's going on with Jeff and Yasmin.
But they're not coping with it, are they?
No, but they can't do anything. You have no choice. This is the sad, crushing, inevitable, depressing point. Consequence, isn't it? You have no choice. This is it. You can't opt out of it. That's it. It's happened.
I think it'd be odd if that story's not in it next week, but we'll see, won't we? We don't have long to wait.
We will see.